Right, hello again. Right then, wheels. Before I will record the process of the painting, uh, you can probably see I have some serious problems here that I need to rectify before I can actually properly start. These tires have been painted with Mr. Whitewalls paint. I I can't fault I can't fault the guy. I think the paint that he's done is really good, and the what I'm struggling with now is actually a quite a good proof that that's the case. As you see here, these are my feeble attempts at actually taking the layers off. This tire has been painted 3 times, if I remember correctly, and that's not 3 coats. That's multiple coats on 3 different occasions. Reason for that? Well, when I first painted it, the tire was relatively new. It didn't have enough mileage on, as recommended by Mr. Whitewalls. So I was expecting a lot of chemical release from the rubber, which did happen. So although the paint stood up to it quite well, when I was cleaning it fairly regularly, it was retaining its white color. Currently, you see it's all brown, well, creamy color. And the repaint occurred basically because it was becoming unmanageable in terms of cleaning it. So I was just restoring it to a bearable shade, and then I was just simply repainting the whole thing with 2 or 3 coats. Over here, what we see is the last layer coming off. I'm not sure why that occurred. There's nothing happening underneath. It's just the newest coat that started peeling. Maybe it's had enough. Maybe it was enough coats, one on top of another, or there are still some chemical reactions in between the layers. I have absolutely no idea how I'm gonna manage to take this off. I've tried sanding it down, and you can't sand it because it actually retains its rubbery consistency. It's very, very hard. As you can see, it still pulls. Oh, I can actually. Well, that's a silly task to do that. But that only proves that this paint is really, really well made. What's being advertised is what you get in terms of the longevity, I guess, because we're looking at 2 years plus tire now. So what I will be doing, I will be attempting to clean that up first. I don't think sanding will work. I'll try probably solvents, which is not ideal. I thought I'm gonna get away with not using them. I'll give it a few tries. If it doesn't work, I think I'll just settle for repainting on top of that coat, just after lightly sanding the whole thing. But for those that have black tires and you're just starting off, there is an earlier video of how I prepped the tire, very brief, and I've had some complaints that I didn't show the whole process. Basically, that tire, that's the box standard Venom X Avons, and they weren't what's the word? They weren't. That surface was not clean. It had a lot of texture. It had a lot of markings on it. The lettering. I ground everything off, and I reckon I took like 2-3 mil off that tire to make it nice and smooth. And then I painted it. So I probably contributed to the fact that it was releasing more of the chemicals because the surface layer has been ripped off. Do I recommend doing that? Probably not, because it was an awful lot of work. I've spent hours doing it. Probably not the healthiest thing in the world to breathe in as well. I was using Dremel, so it's high RPM, burning the rubber a little bit as well, so you had all the fume. It's nasty business. So I would probably settle on buying just a set of white walls. However, there is not a chance you will get a set of white walls with a nice custom made white lettering like that. I think it suits that tire very well. They should make it from factory. So yeah, it's I'll have a go. There's probably not much point showing you how I mess about with that. I'll give you a if I'll find a way, I'll give you a good report, or I'm gonna show you on another tire that's not done yet how to do it if you're in the same situation. But other than that, please bear with me, and hopefully in a few seconds you'll see the tire being ready for painting. Right, now this is very interesting. It appears that acetone, well, it didn't really work wonders, but it actually nicely refreshes the color. It does melt it, so where the coat was a bit thinner, it actually starts to peel as well, although still with a lot of resistance. Yeah, it's melting through the gloves. I think it's fair to say that that's pointless. It's an awful lot of work, and the closest I could get to cleaning it is probably something like that here, which is the almost down to the ground level, but still with the residue. I don't think it's worthwhile. What I'll do, I'll work on the areas that actually peeled, get that down a little bit, so it doesn't peel too much anymore. And I will be actually putting the new coats on, and basically screw it. It will last a season, and that's good enough for me. I think there are more important things left to do on the bike than this, and like I said, it will look alright for one season. I'll be experimenting further though, because instead of Mr. White Walls, I will actually try the Mad Cow White Wall Magic. Now I am very confused at the moment. I bought this off eBay. Comes with the cleaning agent of some sorts, but that tiny thing, it's apparently that's apparently supposed to last for five tires, and I believe so they are talking car tires, so just one side, for 2 or 3 coats. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. I would like to see 3 coats from that on both tires, 2 sides. That's 4 sides total. So still less than advertised. I don't know what is that. Is that like 150 ml? It doesn't even say how much it is. It was almost 3 times cheaper though. So let's see. Benefit or doubt. That needs to cure now a little bit, because I've melted it. It wouldn't be a good idea to paint straight over it due to the chemicals. So I'll see you in a bit. And I'm gonna cover up the rim as well, because it is maddening to try to clear it later on, because I've done it previously without any masking, and it was a bit costly later, time-wise. So it took a lot of time to actually get it clean. don't expect anything to go on the central hub, but it's just in general, mask it up. A little bit. And then go with the masking all around. And just gonna try to catch the edge. Yes, all I care about is just the edge effectively. You can push it in nicely with your thumb. While you're twisting the whole thing. Need another one. Speed up the video and we'll continue once I'm done. So there we go. The rim is nicely masked, and not going to be doing anything with the outside because I've done it a few times already, and I'm okay with going around the edge. And if anything, it's relatively easy to clean the outside because it's a rather porous rubber. So I'm going to be using a box standard brush, a detail brush as well. It's a flat one. for the corners and for the lettering. Just gonna give that a good shake and we're off. Alright, there we go. So to start with, and that'll differ on your tires. I'm gonna do these corners here because I can't reach in with the big brush. There we go. And there's no point overdoing the amount of paint because I think it applies that multiple but thin layers are more preferable than the actual one really thick and wet, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. And as for painting, it's really a no-brainer. There you go. Just making sure that there is no area where the paint has been laid too thick. It doesn't help our cause whatsoever, so just making sure that everything's covered, but just that. No, not overdoing anything. Steady hand helps, I guess. Mine's shaking. There we go. It's not so bad. There we go. I'm not gonna really make a very quick work of it because well, there's no time to waste really. And the in terms of so far the paint itself, I'm quite surprised how much coverage you're getting from dipping the brush just once and not too much as well. It is a definitely different consistency from Mr. Whitewalls. It's much. It's not as thick. You can work with it much better by the looks of it. And my initial concerns with regards to that tiny cup being sufficient for the those quoted 4 or 5 tires, 3 coats each. I'm starting to think it will be doable. Because because it really spreads. It really spreads beautifully. There we go. And that's just looking at the irregularities. Oh, the brush strokes as well. The way you lay your brush strokes down, it will show. It will show at the end a little bit. So if you do wonky ones, you'll have that pattern once you're finished. So just well, depending what kind of an effect you want at the end, just keep it fairly consistent, and it should be fine. So that's all the big stuff done. Now that's where the fun begins. Back to my small one. I have a seat as well. And that's where you need to be a bit more patient. It always helps if you run your brush really flat. With a design like this one, this whole logo is a bit it's a bit higher, it's protruding. So if you just, for small things like the tongue here, if you just tap it like that, the paint will not go inside. You'll get all the detail you want. And it will look decent. And that'll do for the first layer, like I've mentioned. Thinner ones better. And the lettering is far more demanding in terms of getting the layers on, because it's much smaller area. I found the adhesion to be worse on that part of rubber. It might be just tire dependent. And if you also, that's a tip, if you splash a little bit, the back of your brush will rub it out like an eraser. And just make sure that you don't have any rogue strands, because that can cock it up for you as well. Come on. There we go. That's better. So yeah, for relaxation purposes you can carry on watching. And don't worry if for the first layer or two it doesn't look very good. It won't. The final layers will actually bring it all out nicely in terms of the white intensity and the coverage. So just be patient and try to avoid laying it too thick in the first place, because you want a bit more instant results. It will backfire on you big time and I think it will peel much easier as well. Well, I'm meaning when you don't want to. It's a bit of a pick up all the crap sometimes falls on it. There we go. That's another tip. I'm going over majority of the shape first, and I don't do it to speed up the process. I'm doing it to get rid of the excess paint on the brush. So you're still effectively offloading the paint onto the project. It's just you tackle it bit by bit. So you don't want dropping too much paint in one area because it might overrun the edge, and you'll have more cleanup to do later on. And the X being the worst. And like I said, I'm barely topping up that brush. I'm really impressed with that paint. However, of course, that can have a downside as well, which we'll see at the very end when I'm finished. If it's too thin, too runny, it'll be showing through. There we go. Now, that lettering is not ideal, so I'm going to be laying a little bit thicker, not too much though. I have the remains of all the layers peeling off and lifting slightly, but I'm unable to grind it down in any meaningful way that would give me good results. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna paint over everything, and even if there is a little bit of lift showing, it'll still be a nice bright white. And let's face it, when you're riding, nobody's gonna notice that. So only if you really lean over it and have a good look, you'll see that there are some irregularities, but screw that. I don't have an OCD for that. There we go. Oh, and the last one. that's in. So there we go. That's the was nice, quick and easy. That was the first layer. Now give it 24 hours at least, depending on the temperature. I don't. My garage is not particularly warm, so the advice on the paint itself goes against anything that's below 5 degrees. I got like 12 now, so 24 hours for that to cure. Repeat, and then I reckon I'll have enough paint to do another repeat. So I'll be laying 3 layers, and we'll see how it looks like. I'll for the time being, you take care, and in a few seconds I should be back with the with an update after 24 hours and the painting of the second layer. Right, welcome back, guys. The first layer had quite a bit of time to dry and cure. I left it for 2 days. Today I'm continuing. The first layer, unsurprisingly, is rather weak. So I think 3 layers will be required. It's, again, like I mentioned before, that will be down to the consistency of the paint that I'm using now. So because it's not very thick, it will require more layers, but we have a ton of it, so we might as well use it all up. So as previously, I'm doing the corners, hard to reach corners first. And I'm gonna swap to the big one and crack on. There is a bit of fear that the yellow will come through. It's especially visible after the first layer I'm painting over, and it discolored rather bad. Well, benefit of doubt for all of it. We'll see. Given enough layers, that should be just fine. we go. Gentle touch up where it actually shown through. There we go. So that's again the first bit done. Chuck that in there. Acetone, and now number 2. Oops. There we go. Too much. Knock at the brush a little bit because I left it in the acetone and it actually dried out on me, so it's not great. There we go. And the reason I'm tapping different areas first thing is, well, there's no magic to it. I'm just getting rid of the excess paint so the brush is never too loaded, and well, I can spread it later once I get to that area. So it's just paint management. There we go, that's one side done. And now it's just the Avon. Yeah. And we're done. So that's layer number 2. Again, I'll let that dry for a day or two. I'm curious to see what happens, whether it will still turn creamy, because I'm not sure whether it's any sort of reaction now, or it's just too thin. I'm gonna do number 3 off the camera, and 4, 5, whatever, however many I decide to do, until I'm actually quite happy. Then I'm gonna come back to you guys and report back on the progress. So hopefully you should see the end result now after the break, and it will be a result that will be satisfactory to me as well. I'll get quite upset. So yeah, thanks again, and I'll see you see you shortly. Hello and welcome back. like I've promised, I'm here with an update with regards to painting my white walls. Currently, as it stands, I have applied 4 coats of the Mad Cow White Wall Magic. Well, I was waiting to see that magic. I haven't seen it yet. Reason: I'm not sure. That should be fairly white coming via the camera, but just as a simple comparison, do you see the difference? That's white, that's not. For some reason unknown to me, the paint simply turns creamy. I'd be very doubtful to assume that. Well, I'd be very doubtful to assume that was brilliant grammar. I'm very doubtful that the previous layers had anything to do with that, because they were really well run in. The tires were well run in. The old paint was scuffed, and any chemicals that it had have been released by now. Much to my disappointment, I cannot get this paint to stay white as I would like to. The positive, well, if it's sunny, there is no chance that this tire will look creamy when you're riding past someone. They do shine really nice, bright in the sun. It's not a product. It's not a product that I'm happy with. It's not the end result that I'm happy with. I will go with it though, simply because I will be changing the tires relatively soon anyway. So and I also have half a cup left of that paint. So if that gets any darker, I'll just recoat it and carry on. So that will take me through the season. What I might try as well is actually leave that intact. Well, actually first put it on the bike, have a ride, see how it actually reacts to the weight, to how flexible it is. It might end up cracking all over the place. It dries much harder than the Mr. White Walls one. There is a difference when I was cleaning the rim a little bit, because I had some bleed through. So if it cracks, what I'll be doing straight away is probably recoating everything with the Mr. White Walls, because it has that proper rubbery feeling to it. It's much thicker, and we'll see what happens then. But for now, I have a ton of other stuff to do, so I'm not really fussed. It's an improvement. It's a step over what was before, after the season of riding, which was really messy. I will leave it like that. So personal experience for the time being, if you compare Mr. White Walls, which is £25 or thereabouts for a 250ml cup, and you can compare it to however much that is. After doing both tires, multiple coats, I pretty much end up with the same amount left from one as the other, although from Mr. White Walls the end result was absolutely fantastic. It was actually pure white. I think that's enough said. I'm going to be putting the tires to a side and cracking on with the rest of the bike, and yeah, and later on we'll see. So there you have it. That was the process. You know the two products. You can make your own mind up which one to use if you want to follow the same route and do something custom for yourself. And I wish you all the best. And if you do manage to get something decent, something you want to show off, do do let me know, get in touch with me. If you have a video, I would love to feature it on my channel as well, so you get a bit of internet fame. And for the time being, all the best, and I'll see you in the next video.